be done, but I still did not know where it was all going to lead. So then the next dictation I had was join the co-op. Now you may say, oh, that's a very mundane thing, but it was a major step for me to go join the co-op where organic foods were and where natural living and books on natural living were present, and where there was a different ambiance that had more of a sattvic by far. So joining the co-op meant that I had to walk well over a mile every Saturday to go put in my time so that you could still remain a member and get your discount on your food. And obviously if you join a co-op, that means you're going to eat differently, but by this time I already was an established vegetarian. So I had received the first copy of Baba Ram Dass's book, Be Here Now. And in the first edition, although there was about 10 other subsequent editions that did not have it, but in the first edition, Prabhupada's picture was there, along with a brief biography description of him. And out of all the yogis that were in Baba Ram Dass's Be Here Now, by far I was most attracted to him. But I did not know that there was a movement or an organization. But even though I had no contact with Sanskrit whatsoever at that time, except just generic terms like guru, but I didn't even know that was Sanskrit technically, I memorized his name, which is easy for all devotees now, but at that time, to memorize that long Sanskrit name within one night and to be able to remember it the next morning was quite a feat. So then on a Saturday, I went to the co-op, and my consciousness always was that if you are passing each test, you're going to receive a signal, sometimes in a symbolic form, sometimes internally, or sometimes externally, as a directive. You're going to receive a signal. What's the next stage, the next milepost that you have to pass? So I saw a poster on the bulletin board at the co-op, the health food co-op, natural foods co-op, and the poster had that silhouette from the first Bhagavad Gita of Krishna, the silhouette Gita, where the purple version, black and purple. And it had that silhouette, and it said Bhakti Yoga Love Feast. And it talked about how you could come and you could learn how to become a vegetarian in a transcendental way, and how there was going to be a love feast, and how there was going to be a lecture on the philosophy from India of Bhakti Yoga. And it was immediate to me, without any question, that this was the next step. In other words, I was going to look for next steps. And whenever a next step came, I had to take the step no matter what. Now, when I was in college, at this time I'd already dropped out of college, but not by long, only by a couple, 2 months, 3 months maybe. So I played a lot of basketball when I was in high school and college, and was quite good at basketball. And there was this one hippie, and I also was a hippie. He lived in the flat below me, and I considered that he was very lined up, that he had his stuff together, and I really wanted to have a relationship with him. It seemed to me that having a close friendship with him would be the epitome of making advancement in the hippie religion. And Prabhupada calls it that, the hippie religion, and I can see why, because that's pretty much how I viewed it. So he and I had seen each other once at the Armory in the University of Wisconsin in Madison, where you can have access to free courts, and there's other places too, but if you have to be a student, but at the Armory you don't have to be a student. So he was good at basketball, I was good at basketball, I was confident I could beat him, even though he was quite good. And the way I viewed it is that if I had a one-on-one and I beat him, he would be very appreciative of that, because he was superior to me in so many other ways. And if I could show one way where I beat him like that I was superior to him, then that would help for my ticket to get a good relationship with him. I've always experienced that if you defeat someone like that, as long as there's not hate involved, if you defeat someone, admiration grows and a relationship grows. So in those days, I didn't have a vehicle, never had a vehicle until quite many years after that. So I'd hitchhike when I wanted to go somewhere. So the previous weekend I had hitchhiked up to Green Bay and up to Sturgeon Bay in Wisconsin to see my mother and to be with my friends. And I had played basketball while I was at Green Bay with my friends that were also, who actually lived with me in the same flat, in the same apartment, and they had different rooms, and I didn't have a room. I slept on the sofa in the living room. So I had played basketball with them, but I had forgot my tennis shoes, and I had hitchhiked back to Madison without my tennis shoes. So now the Sunday Love Feast is going to take place, and what was also very enlivening to me was the fact that I was on Ingersoll Street in Madison, and the temple was on Livingston. And Livingston was only 3 blocks away. 2 or 3, I forget, one of the two. It was a very cold night in February, middle February, Sunday, middle February. And I was going to have to walk to it, but I was already in a kind of spirit to take that on. The cold wasn't going to stop me. It was not snowing, but it was a lot of wind and very, very cold, bone-chilling cold. So I never used a mirror very much. So I was dressing in my attire to go to the Bhakti Yoga Love Feast, which I think was going to start at 6 or 7, something like that, probably 6. I don't know the exact time now, it's too far in the past. So I'd used, since it was the winter in Wisconsin, obviously nighttime had already been present for at least an hour and a half or 2 hours by that time. So I'd used the light of the kitchen, which reflected off the picture windows that we had that went out to the street below and all that. I used the reflection you get when that light was on in order to, like my mirror, and I was in the kitchen dressing for going to the Love Feast. Now, when I had seen that fella at the Armory playing basketball that I was interested in, the flat below me, he is right the flat below me. When we came up, he didn't have to come up many stairs. Of course, he'd just go to the first front porch and then go right into his apartment. But we were on 2nd floor, and then there's a flat above us. Then there was a general stairway that we all used. In other words, there was a stairway that you used 99.9% of the time in the front part of the house, where the street address was. And then there was a stairway to the back that led to the basement that nobody used. Nobody used it. It was there as part of the design of this three-tier or 3-story apartment complex, but nobody ever used it. It was just there. But that stairway happened to have a door that connected to the kitchen in the back of our apartment. So I'm standing in the kitchen, and he knocks on that door. So I'm right there in the kitchen. He knocks on the very door where I'm at, and I open it. So he's coming in a way that is the back door, the dark way. And he says, "I'm ready to play. You ready to play?" So, I mean, here was my opportunity. Here was my opportunity. I really wanted to have a friendship with him. I was confident. I was not 100% confident, but I was confident I could beat him, because although he was very good at basketball, I was also very good, and I was slightly taller than him. He was a little huskier than me, but I knew I'd beat him. So here was my opportunity, because it was always dependent on him to give the invitation, "Let's go to the Armory and play." However, I was within 15 minutes of leaving to go to the Bhakti Yoga Love Feast. So I was torn, because, I mean, well, maybe I could go the next Sunday. As it turned out, that temple didn't stay in Madison very much longer after that. Only about 3 weeks after that, and then it got centralized into Detroit, like some other temples in the Midwest at that time. So I was torn, but I was still leaning towards going to the Bhakti Yoga Love Feast. Then I thought to myself, well, God has made an arrangement for me. Of course, I doubt I used the term God, but whatever term I used, I don't have my tennis shoes. I'm not going to be able to beat him in regular street shoes. At least I have to have my tennis shoes. So I said, "No, tonight I can't play you because I'm going to the Bhakti Yoga Love Feast." Now, I didn't even think that he would know what it is, but he very well knew what it was.